Nebraska lawmakers will be back in session tomorrow. Property taxes and workforce development, just a couple of topics senators plan to tackle.
6 News' Joe Harris tells us what else we can expect.
Senator Kathleen Kauth still has her proposed Sports and Spaces Act carrying over from last year. Under it, students could only play on teams and use locker rooms and bathrooms that correspond with their biological sex.
Both components of that bill aim to deal with all of the students in a school. So we're protecting the privacy and the dignity of those intimate spaces for all the kids, not just kids who are dealing with gender issues.
Kauth also says she has a proposal on deck that she says would help protect some of your personal data.
So Apple Watches, anything measuring your biomedical data, where is that information going? So this says that you are the owner of your biomedical data. Anything that is collected from you by these devices, you own. And if you want to sign away your rights to it, the liability waiver has to be written in a 7th grade lexile.
Meanwhile, Senator Carol Blood says she's proposing a bill that would establish an advisory council to address drug affordability.
Nebraskans are having to decide between food and other necessities or paying for the medication. And what I'm seeing is that many are choosing not to take medications or taking smaller doses just to be able to afford to continue to take that medication.
According to the draft, the advisory council would consist of those representing pharmacists, consumers, and drug manufacturers to negotiate lower prices on medications that are utilized the most in the state and are also considered to be the most expensive.
We're going to make sure that no one leaves that table unless we have a solution on how to lower specific costs on specific meds.
Blood's bill from last year that would require the state to provide full reimbursement to political subdivisions for any new program or expansion of an existing program is also still on deck. On your side, Joe Harris, 6 News.
Later tonight, we'll tell you about state senators' opinions regarding possible rule changes when it comes to filibusters.